Anything that surprised you or any advice for people leaving home, moving to another country?
When I leave one life, I just let the other life burn off and I forget about it. Over the years, we've boiled it down to the terms photographs and memories.
Alrighty, we're recording. I got Hurt here and Softy Papa and got a great YouTube channel. I've been watching that, and you're in the process of moving from the US to Japan. So something I've been through. It's been 10 years since I did it last. So I wanted to get your perspective on a couple of things like number one, leaving America, what's
Hmm.
required, moving to Japan, what's required, retiring in Japan, and then bringing a
Hmm.
dog to Japan. I've been actually trying to get somebody to talk about how to bring a pet to Japan because I get so many about
Okay.
that. So that's going to be really valuable for a lot of people. But let's start off with leaving the US. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff involved.
Yeah. Well, this is our fifth time to do this transition between my wife and I. So we started making journeys as a couple back and forth between the United States and Japan in 1989. And so this is our fifth and final time to do it. So my wife and I have a rule every time we do it, and we've done it twice as a couple, and three times as a family. So we have a rule, and that rule is that each of us only gets to bring two suitcases every time we make a big life change. Nothing else. Everything has to go. So logistically, it's a matter of basically deconstructing our current life, which means selling, giving away, or throwing away everything that we have, except what we call, we over the years, we've boiled it down to the terms photographs and memories, things, the photographs that we have, and then whatever is too precious an item, or too precious a memory to hold on to. And what's really interesting, Tracy, is that over the years, the photographs have always remained. We can't quite part with the photos, and we're not digital photo people, although I have a huge digital catalog of anything new, but all the old photos we keep. But the memories, the items that are cherished items that have memories, those have gone. My wife and I are down to basically just the photographs and ourselves now. Don't have really anything. And it's very interesting and coincidental that we're having this talk right now, because just yesterday my wife got the keys to our new place in Shizuoka, Japan, and we were looking at it together via the internet, and we're realizing we have nothing. We don't own a. So we've been married. We've been together 38 years. We're both 60 years old. We have not a single item of furniture, and we have nothing to decorate it with. We're starting from scratch like newlyweds. So, to answer your question, the process boils down to deconstruction, reconstruction every time. And the challenging part is always the logistics of negotiating visas, driver's licenses, and when we were looking for work, finding and establishing employment and a place to live.
Hmm. So I'm sure there's a lot of stuff, and like I said, it's been a while since I did this, but I had to get rid of my car. Fortunately, got a brother who sells cars and was able to
Hmm.
help me out, so that was easy. But as far as my mail, now I use a service. I used to use my parents, but they're not at a point where they can be doing that for me. But uh, now I have a service that all my mail goes there. They scan it, I get a digital copy, and I can just click shred or download. So anything
Mm,
comes from bank or, any government office, whatever, I have access to that like the same day, which is really easy.
mm,
But that was a big thing. I kept a bank account and
hmm.
I make sure and use that credit card to and I used my parents' address for years, and I would order something that would go to their house. So if I'm on
Hmm.
my way to America on a vacation, I would order something that I wanted to get there, or I would just order a gift for them. I'd order, flowers for Mother's Day. I'd order, you know, just whatever, so I could keep my bank account current at least. A couple years ago during the pandemic, I didn't travel and I couldn't get my driver's license renewed in the States.
Mm.
So I let that go. But I still have a bank account. Utilities, cell phone, all that stuff. It's just a matter of, just canceling that. Um, Anything that surprised you or any advice for people leaving home, moving to another country?
Sure. So I don't do any. I'm really bad about all that stuff. I don't keep. I don't. I'm really, really bad about that. So when I came back to America, it's been 11 years ago, to basically my last fling in America. So the way it worked out was we had taken our daughter Emily, who was born here, and then we raised her here till she was 3. And then when she was 3, we brought her to Japan to make a Japanese out of her. And then we kept her there until the end of middle school. And then at the start of high school, we brought her to America to make an American out of her. And she just graduated university in May this year. And now she's working in Tokyo. She got a job in public relations in Tokyo. So the thing was, in 2014, when I decided, okay, it's time to bring Emily back to America and make an American out of her, I it took me 2 years to secure a job. But once I got the job, I came and I landed here in the United States, and I because I hadn't done anything that you just described, I literally went. I needed to buy a car, I needed to rent an apartment, I needed to do all the things that you need to do. I went. Nobody would let me do anything. The credit agency people were like, they were like, Kurt, you're a ghost in the machine. They said, you're worse than a ghost, Kurt. They said, because before that I had had a rich, good credit history, and I was at the time I was 50 years old, and they were like, here, you have this. We have you on the records for well, they dropped off the records at one point, but they said, here's this emptiness, right? And they said, it looks worse than suspicious. It looks like you somehow had it wiped. And they said, nobody's going to lend you anything. You're not going to be able to get a car, nothing. So what I had to do was I made an arrangement with a friend to sell me a cheap motorcycle. And he and I wrote out on a document, a contract that I would pay him X number of payments. And I did that. And then I got one of those burner credit card things, they give you $350 credit. You have to put it down and then to earn your credit. And I had to build my credit back up until now I'm at the point that I've got this great track record, and I'm about to leave and burn it all again. Speaking of burning, I don't want to burn my hand. So to answer your question, I'm horrible about all that stuff. When I leave one life, I just let the other life burn off and I forget about it.
Okay.
Except this time. This time's different because this time I'm retiring, so I have to keep an infrastructure in the United States because all of my retirement funds are here. So I have to keep an infrastructure in the United States of bank accounts so that I have money coming in and then transferring overseas to me over there. So, but that's not me actively doing anything. That's the necessity of staying alive, requiring me to do that.
Mm. And I saw something on X the other day about getting a signature on file. That's something I neglected to do. I mean, I'm an attorney. I should have known.
Mm,
But what was there? There was something you posted on your YouTube channel, I think, or maybe X,
yeah.
about putting a signature on file. Was that a power of attorney, or was that what was
So
that?
so that was with my pension. So the way that it works is here's the thing. I'm leaving. My last day of work is December 12th. I'm leaving on an airplane for Japan on the following week. But the pension fund won't allow me to begin requesting distribution. They won't pay me distributions until 30 days after my last day of retirement. And he literally told me, he says, some people change their mind. They literally they go to their last day, they go home and they sit there for 2 weeks and they have nothing to do and they come back and say, I changed my mind, I don't want to retire. So because they said was once they make that first payment into for your pension, you're finished. You can't back out at that point. So they wait 30 days. So he said, since you're going to be overseas, Kurt, we want to have your signature on file so we don't have to call you back to the United States. Oh, speaking of my dogs, they're barking. Hold on just a second. You and I are going to walk. You and I are
Let's
going
go
to
walk.
walk
Yeah.
by candlelight over, and no, we can go together
Yeah.
because I'm living in I'm living in the wilderness, and there's all kinds of creatures out here in the dog's park. So anyway, so he said, if we get your signature on file, Kurt, then we don't have to make you come on an airplane back to Japan, back to the United States if we have trouble. Here's my little dogs. It's okay, boys.
Was
Woof,
it
woof.
Ollie?
So that's no. This is Rudy right here.
Okay.
This is Rudy, and
Okay.
he's the dog that will stay with me till the end. The
Okay.
black dog that's barking in the dark there, that's Ollie. He goes to Japan in 3 weeks. Rudy,
Mm.
hush, 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 hush. Okay, okay, boy. So yeah, so sorry, thanks for the
Not at
distraction.
all. No.
This is the challenge of doing this in my current circumstance.
It brings
The
us to our
dogs are my life.
No, it brings us to our next topic, which is bringing a dog to Japan. How does that work?
Yeah, very, very complicated. It's easy, but it's complicated. So here's the thing. Basically, Japan requires one main thing. They don't want rabies coming into their country. So if you're going to if you're going to bring a dog into Japan, you have to demonstrate unequivocally that the dog doesn't have rabies, and you do that in three main measures. The first is you have to get the dog a rabies vaccine, and then with more than 30 days later, you have to get a second rabies vaccine. Then you have to wait 6 months. And this is the thing that gets people. You have to wait 6 months to ensure that the efficacy of those vaccines was sufficient. And you do that by 6 months later, you have to get a titer test. And that tests to see how the dog's system is holding, if there's any rabies actually in there. But it's more than that. You have to get the test done by a USDA, if you're from the United States, a USDA certified veterinarian. So if you just go and you get any regular veterinarian, it ain't going to work. And then you have to and that veterinarian has to send that to a very specific place, which is the University of Kansas. That's the only place they can do it. And then the University of Kansas does the test, and then they send the results. Then after you have those results in hand, you have to wait another window of time, which isn't escaping me, how long that is. That's why all these will be ready in 2 weeks. That window of we began this process at the start of the year. It's now September. Aldi will be ready to go. The both dogs will be ready to go in 2 weeks' time. Then once you have the all that paperwork in hand, then 40 days before the dog arrives, you have to contact Japan Customs and you have to let them know that you're about to bring a dog to Japan and provide all the paperwork. They then review all the paperwork and will send you a clearance notice. And if you don't do that, they may I don't know if they'll actually go through with it, but they send you a warning. They said if you show up in Japan with a dog and you didn't go through that, they may it's like a legal infraction of some sort. Like they'll punish you somehow. So once you've got that clearance in hand, then 1 week before the flight, you have to go again to the USDA certified vet and get a health clearance, an authorization that the dog's ready to go. So that's four certified documents. By certified, what I mean is it has to be by the USDA vet. It has to be on a particular form. It has to, as you know, in Japan and knowing the law, Japan is very, how do you say, what's a kind way to say anal about all the lines of code? Everything has to, down to the fact that it has to be blue ink. All that document has to be provided. And
Wow.
you've got all that. They've got it all on their side. You've got all the documents in hand on your side. You bring your pet. You fly over to Japan. If you're lucky, the dog arrives, and within 12 hours, they'll pop out the other side, where you pick up your surfboards. If you're not lucky, the dog will stay in quarantine for some period of time. That's basically how you do it.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you, because I get a lot of questions about this. I did a video on the 10 most popular breeds in Japan, and
Mhm.
I knew the first question would be, how do I bring my dog to Japan? So, so then,
Yeah,
uh,
it's not easy. So
mhm,
so just to add to that, just to have this might help your people have questions. So I elected not because the kind of guy that I am, I'm bad about all that stuff. I just said to hell with that. Oh, excuse my language. I'm not going to do that. So I hired a company called Starwood Pet Shippers out of to do all that for me. So I just wrote them a check and they did all this.
mm, gotcha. No, it's good to know there's a service. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good. And watch out. This is also a really important thing. Um, Watch out. Some of the services, they're not all the same. So a lot of the services, especially now that in hindsight that I know everything, some of the services, I would say I contacted four services when we started this process and to weed them out. Even though I'm really bad about paperwork and stuff, I'm very good about vetting. So, and I vetted them all out, and I am really good about spreadsheets. And I had all the spreadsheet laid out and stuff. And this one was by far the most expensive. But when I realized the reason that they were so expensive, more expensive than the others, was they were telling me the straight deal up front. They were like, this is how much it's going to cost, bottom line. The other agencies weren't telling me all about the hidden fees and the hidden costs. In the end, they all turned out to be the same. I chose Starwood because right from the beginning, they showed me everything. And I'm very pleased. The only thing they didn't tell me about that I wish they had was the fact that when you send that when you send the tests to the University of Kansas, that test is another $1,000 just to run that test. I didn't realize that. So that
Mm, okay.
and it's not so just the bottom line. So one last thing, if you're wondering how much did all this cost for two dogs to send them to Japan, at the current right now we're standing at $13,000
For 2 dogs.
for two dogs.
Okay. I was thinking about asking, but, it's kind of, you know, so I'm
Yeah,
thank you for
no,
offering
no,
the information, yeah.
and that's going to be normal. All of them, like I said, the spreadsheets, the bottom line on all of them was about $13,000.
Okay. For 2 dogs.
I
Okay.
mean, for two dogs, yeah,
Okay. So 6,500 for a dog, basically.
yeah.
Okay. And then how do they fly? Do you put them on a carrier? Do they just take a regular airplane, or do you have to go with them, or
So the way Starwood works, I'll refer to them. They are a pretty cool outfit. They have a deal with a Lufthansa, and they actually have a pet center in I think it's in Luxembourg or someplace like that.
Mm,
anyway, anyway, so all the dogs fly into Germany, and then they spend a night in that. It's like kind of like FedEx. All the packages come, and then they spend a day there, and then they get sent out to where they're going. In my case, because with the logistics of Los Angeles and Narita, it just made sense. So for them, they're going to put them on a JAL flight. So what'll happen is, and they'll fly as cargo. So they sent me about a month ago the two crates for the dogs. That comes with the deal, right? They send the crates. So that I've been acclimating the dogs to the crate. So I got one set up in my tiny home and another set up in the back of the car, and the dogs are familiar with it. And then when the day comes, I will simply drive to LAX, go to a park nearby, take the dogs out for a nice stroll for a pee, or at least Ollie, he's the first one. Let them do their business, and I have some sedative that I got from the vet that I can give to them, so they'll kind of basically go to sleep for the day, and put them in the crate, hand them over, go drive to Los Angeles International Airport, meet. See, here's another nice thing about it. This is really really cool having the service. I don't have to do anything at the airport. There will be an agent from the shipper meeting me at Los Angeles International Export. I literally hand the crate and the dog to the shipper and I leave. And they then take the dog through customs. Then when the dogs arrive at Narita, there's the agent on the other side of the customs thing that will retrieve the dog, and that's all this person does. So he knows all the customs inspectors, right? That's what he does, and he will personally escort the dog through customs, walk them out, and meet my wife where they at the other side. That's the part that I was really willing to pay the money for, because I didn't want my dogs alone in the mechanism of the airport between the airplane and the gate, right?
mm, that kinda white glove door-to-door service, that's amazing.
That's
Love
exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
And I love the idea that like there's some inspector like in the quarantine area that's like, well, this document was done in black ink, not blue ink, and I've got a guy there that's like, never mind, you guys are idiots, and he's Japanese. The guy on the other side is a Japanese person, my agent, and that this is that's worth everything for me.
Mm, big time, yes. Having dealt with bureaucracy, and I tell people to find their city office, around me, it's called the
Hmm.
Tuyak. Find the city office because 'cause you're gonna go there. You're gonna spend a lot of time. Yeah. That that
my
brings
wife was my wife my wife was just there yesterday doing it on my behalf. You're right.
Mhm. And you know what? I actually really like the people at my city office. They're so helpful. I'm used to going to the DMV in the States where, you sit down, the chairs aren't comfortable. They kinda yell out a number and you go up there and you know, um, it I don't wanna, I don't wanna delve into negativity, but it's just not a pleasant experience.
It's
Well,
changed. I don't know about anybody else, but here
oh,
in
has it?
California, it's more like Japan. Now you go, the customer service is good. It's fast. It's efficient. It's that old paradigm, that image of the DMV has changed.
I'm so glad to hear that because I don't wanna be
Yeah.
talking smack about America. I love America. So, um, but yeah, the city office here is just amazing. The people are friendly. They meet you at the door. They even pull a number for you and hand it to you. They're like, "Okay, what
Hmm.
do you need today?" They'll direct you to the form. A lot of times they have it in English and stuff. So it's just they totally, hold your hand right through the whole process. And, when you get a new job in Japan, you have to get this paper. You have to when you get your Hanko, that stamp, you got to get the
Hmm.
paper that says this really belongs to him. You can get
Hmm.
married there. Of course, you don't have to worry about that now. You're married, so but it's just a pleasant experience. And I was always really anxious about going there. And people say, why are you so on edge? I'm like, I hate government offices, and they're like, oh, go to this one. And it's just
I love sitting there in the little chair and watching the person that's handling my paperwork go to the back, and they're sitting there rummaging around so efficiently, like that, like I'm some foreign ambassador, and they're wait for it. And then they come forward and beru sama, beru kato sama. It's like even the sama part. I'm like, wow,
mm,
this is so great.
yeah, yeah, they're great. They're great. And it's bureaucracy, but it's efficient bureaucracy, if that makes sense. So
It is, but you don't want to go afoul of it, right?
true,
Because it won't bend.
true, true. So that's changed, I think, this year. Two big things. If you don't pay your health insurance or your taxes and you're a permanent resident, they can
Hmm.
revoke that now. So that's Japan.
Mm.
There was a big thing about
So I
that.
have a so I have a question for you, being a lawyer, especially. I hope you don't mind asking a pro bono question. We just got to know each other, and already asking you for free advice.
Well,
I
you get
believe
what you pay for. So
is, is is it true now that I'm 60, 60, I won't have to pay into the pension scheme anymore as a resident?
I don't know.
That's what I heard.
No,
Because
no.
my wife, she showed up 1 month before she turned 60.
Mhm.
She went back to Japan in May. Well, not 1 month. She turned 60 in August. Sorry, sweetie, if you didn't want me to tell your age. But anyway, she showed up and she was like lamenting me. She's like, I have to sign up for the damn pension scheme. And then 3 months from now, or whatever it is, I'll go and I'll sign off of it because I'm 60. I'm like, does that mean you don't have to pay for it after in March 60? She says, yeah.
Hmm. Well, you know what? I happen to know a good Japanese lawyer, so let me check on that. I'll try
Oh,
to
okay,
put something
cool.
in the show notes or on X or something. So yeah, great question because I'm gonna hit that in 5 years. So
All right.
I know I
Hey,
don't look a day over 54, but
come on in. The water's fine.
it's
Man,
great.
this is the best deck. This is the best decade. I've only been in this decade for May, June, July, August for 4 months, but it's the best decade yet so far.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But I was, they always say life begins at 40. I really hit my stride at 45.
Mm,
That's when I found her, that's when I found my dream job, moved back to
mm,
Japan. Um, that's where things really, really took off. And then,
nice.
I've heard people my age talking, they say, "Oh, I was so dumb at 30." I'm like, "Yeah, I was." I was having fun.
I found every decade is progressively better than the decade before. I would not wish myself back to my 50s. Good gosh, I wouldn't want to go through my 40s again. What the hell was I thinking in my 30s and 20s? Forget about it. So I'm very optimistic. The only thing that can get me now is my health. So
Mm.
I got to stay strong and vital. And that's a losing battle because and if I'm lucky, I got 10 good years left, and after that, it's all downhill.
Well, just ride it till the wheels fall off, man.
That's exactly my plan. That's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly my
Well, I
plan.
saw you out there lifting rocks, you know, looking fit, man.
That that's part of the thing is that once I sunk in, okay, the huge things happened once I decided to retire, and then no, some things clicked in my head when I decided to retire, and then the world changed when I went to my boss and said I'm retiring, and I told my coworkers and the reason I have to do that is because I'm an IT project manager. The projects that I work on typically last 2 years or more, so I need to give them advance notice so that they don't give me projects now that I'm going to walk out on halfway through or something like that. So once I started doing that, setting it out into the world and letting the world know, then my mind started going, "This is real, Kurt. You've the way I keep describing it. It's like I spent my whole life in queue in line for the biggest badass roller coaster in the amusement park, and I'm finally at the front of the line, and I get to ride the damn roller coaster, right? And I'm like, oh well, crap. I need to be ready for this. I need to put down Slurpee, right? Get rid of all this stuff, buckle up everything. Because there's one thing I know about a roller coaster is you get to only ride it once, and then it's going to come back to the station. You have to get off, in this case, die, and someone else gets on. So when I realized all that, I was like, well, screw all this. I'm setting aside the stress. I'm setting aside the worry. I'm gonna get healthy, really healthy, stay fit, and I'm gonna enjoy these 10 years of 60 to 70, because I expect after 70, that's probably about the end for me. And I'm gonna make it the best 10 years possible, if I can make it that long.
Love it. Love it. I saw something in one of your videos, 2 things that always strike me, and I'm not gonna claim to watch every one. I mean, you're an OG vlogger.
I, 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 I post a lot. Yeah.
You post and I love it, and some of them, like the 1 minute in the desert with the snake eating the lizard and stuff, and other ones like you lifting rocks. You're just talking about, "Here's my daily meditation," and stuff, and, I think he was like the Marcus Aurelius of California or something. So
Well, that's flattery.
I hope
Wow.
no, I love it. It's and it watching those videos got me
But
into reading about stoicism.
oh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
and
Well,
and I'm not gonna
I was just gonna say, my empire extends about the range of where my dogs can walk. So no, I don't quite have quite the empire of Aurelius, but so you're interested in Stoicism, as am I. That's
I
interesting.
love
Marcus
it.
Aurelius, of course, is a great source of wisdom in that regard.
Mm, I love it. Just did a video on, Japanese stoicism. It just went up,
What an interesting topic.
and I'll put a link, up in this video too, and it's just, a lot of stuff the Japanese do this brought them through recovery through earthquakes and war and tsunami and all this stuff. Just this kinda and I didn't understand the word stoic. I thought stoic was somebody who was just kinda stubborn and never said anything. Totally, totally wrong.
Well, hmm.
But
Well, that's the connotation that it has in the modern
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. I think Japanesemen say stoic somebody who doesn't talk much.
And yeah, and you have to add to that also the modern sense is also someone that doesn't have any fun, right? They're
Oh,
just
that's it.
they're just always. But you're right. The Japanese are very stoic insofar, especially insofar as they view the circumstances of life. There's two exits to every circumstance, every bad circumstance. You will either endure it or it'll kill you. One of those two, right? And so the Stoics would say, well, if it's going to kill you, that so be it. If you're going to endure it and get out the other side, then just wait it out, right?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, and it's,
En-
I was
endure it, endure it out.
yeah, endure it. Yeah, gaman, right? And I thought, well, how do people get through these horrible train rides and stuff? Well, you just wait till you get to your stop. That's it.
You're right. It's cultural stoicism. You're absolutely right. I agree. Do you think though that boils down to something deeper beyond Japan? Maybe back in China, everything seems to go back to China. Something in Confucianism, maybe, or
I
something.
think so. I think so. I'm not as familiar with Confucianism, and I've been uh, reprimanded on my channel for not knowing enough about Confucianism.
Mm.
But no, I think yeah, all roads lead back to
There's
China.
something
Yeah.
there's definitely something in it with Daruma-san sitting there, armless, legless, eyelidless, enduring life in the pursuit of peace,
Hmm. Yep.
and that goes all the way back to India,
That's right. Yeah. So, boy, yeah, it does.
and which isn't that far from Rome and Greece, if you think
That's
of
true.
that.
That's true. That's true. So yeah, I'll put a link to
So,
that video in here. The Japanese version of Stoicism, and it was really interesting because that's led me down a rabbit hole. And I'll be honest, when I say I'm getting back into Stoicism, it's watching YouTube videos.
mm,
So I'll be 100% honest, not an expert, probably going to get it wrong, but there are a lot of parallels between the Stoics and Japanese thought.
I think you're right. I think it makes and what a wonderful, wonderful video. I'm looking forward to watching.
Mm-hmm. So we got 10 minutes. So we talked about leaving America, moving to Japan, bringing dogs to Japan. Are you going to be vlogging in Japan?
Oh, you bet. So, for those of you that may not be aware of my background, when I was in Japan, from in the 2000s, when the early days of YouTube, I was one of the J vloggers. I was the guy that didn't go to the Tokyo meetups, but spent my time hiking around in the mountains of Shizuoka Prefecture in the Japan Southern Alps. So I had a brand, Softy Papa is my moniker, and I had three main brands that I followed that I created. One was walking in Japan, which was hiking and exploring in Japan. Another one was an abandoned Japan, which was Akia and other abandoned structures that I would find
Mm,
in the wilderness out there. And then there was real Japan monsters, which are the crazy wildlife that I would find mostly
okay.
arachnids and spy of various sorts. So now that I'm going back and I am fully planned to start that back up again. I only took a hiatus on that because I wanted to bring my daughter back to America. But now that I get to go back, I get to go back, and I'm going back to the exact same place where I was before.
Mm,
But the only did this is the huge difference. The huge difference is now um, I can do this all the time. So I'm free. I'm free by virtue of retirement to just head out into the wilderness. It used to be that I could only go into the wilderness every 2 weeks because I was a family man. I didn't want to leave my family. I would take a Sunday every 2 weeks and go off into the hills. I would record like 10 videos while I was out there. And then over the course of the next 2 weeks, I would release those 10 videos over time. So people thought, I would
mm,
get all comments all the time. People thought, Kurt, you're a horrible father. You're never with your family because they would see me releasing videos every day, right?
mm,
But they were all recorded on that one Sunday. So, but now my daughter is grown, my job is done, my wife, she's got her own life. So I'm going to be heading out. I got my pack.
mm,
I'm going to be heading out, and I'm going to be making lots and lots of videos again. But
mm,
the benefit is that now like to use that word again, the benefit of hindsight. I know all the stumbling points that I did the first time I was Softy Papa. So Softy Papa version 2.0 is going to
mm.
be a different man. Also, this guy's got his head on straighter than I did in my 40s and my 50s because for the reasons you've mentioned before. So that's my plan. I'm going to go back. I'm going to become Softy Papa again, and I'm going to have a whole lot of fun for the next 10 years. And get this, this is the most wild part. My wife wants to get in on the fun. She wants to be a
Ooh,
part of YouTube. She wants to share her experiences. And this is the thing we're going to do. Get this. I can't believe this, Tracy. My wife, almost out of nowhere, like 2 years ago, but she didn't even know about all this Akia business. She's like, Kurt, why don't we go out into the countryside and buy ourselves one of those old farms? I'm like, who are you? What did you do with my wife? What happened was when our daughter left and moved out, the reason she didn't want to do that before, I never knew this, was because of all the practical reasons of school and all that stuff. But now that she's done with all that, she's like, yeah, let's go out into the let's go. You know what it is. Countryside in Japan doesn't mean 2 hours drive into the wilderness. It means 15 minutes from the nearest convenience store,
yeah.
right? So there was not like we're going to be in the middle of nowhere. So we've already got a short list. We've been searching for 2 years. We've got a short list of houses, and my wife on her own has already been going out and looking at farms and houses
Mm,
and properties to buy. So we're going to go after we get there. She just got an apartment. She got the keys 2 days ago. We're going to get our apartment, and then from that's going to be our base of operations. And she bought a brand new Suzuki Jimny, so we've got our car, 4-wheel drive. We're going to be going off into the countryside to find ourselves a house or a farm to buy, and we're going to become gentlemen and gentlemen farmers. So
mm.
that's my plan.
That's awesome. Well, that's a huge boom, with vlogging in Japan. So, Anton's done it, several other people have
Yeah,
done it. And I went to if you know Anton, the Swedish guy who wrote the
I,
book on
I
bio
do. I don't know him personally, but I know of him.
know of him, yeah. Well, I went to meet him. He had a book signing, and I went to meet him, and I saw all these other, uh, foreign YouTubers and vloggers,
Hmm.
and I think they're gonna try to get in on this, there's a real estate office, there's a guy, American guy in my neighborhood who has a really successful real estate office, and I walked
Hmm.
by one day and, walked by just to say hi. I said, "Hey, I noticed you opened an office, just wanted to come say hi, maybe you might need you someday." And I looked over on the wall, he had a YouTube plaque, 100,000 subscribers.
Oh, really?
I was like,
Really? That's big.
"Yeah,
Good
yeah.
for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Pick up the silver play.
Yeah,
What a
so
combination! A lawyer and a realtor.
yeah, yeah. So, um, yeah, I think it's kind of like when I first set out to learn Japanese,
Hmm.
people would always ask me like, "What are you learning it for?" And I was like, "Well, because I live in Japan." And then later went to law school after learning Japanese, and I thought, "Okay, now this is a deadly combination in a good way," right? One of my
Mm.
professors told me like, "Oh man, you're going to do really well. You already speak Japanese. Now you're getting a law degree." And didn't know exactly how it was going to turn out, but then the year I got out of law school, a big antitrust case just blew up out of nowhere, and I just I've been busy for the past like 15 years, you know. So, and it's just one
Wow.
other, and then people say, "Oh, you have antitrust experience." Well, we're doing this acquisition in America. We need to go through due diligence. You know, can you help
Hmm.
us with this? And we'll pay you. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm doing stuff I love to do and having fun. So I think having something interesting and vlogging, right? And
Hmm.
hitting that trend. I mean, you hit the Akia trend like a decade or two before everybody else, right? Because now it's everywhere, right? There's Facebook,
Hmm.
there's LinkedIn groups, there's channels. That's all they talk about. So you seem to have a knack for hitting these trends well before they be, even become a trend.
Well, maybe I'm just trying to have fun. And
Mhm.
no, I'm not trying to just have fun. I'm trying to have fun and leave a virtuous footprint in my wake,
Mm. You know, there's a
a footprint of virtue.
yes, yes. I love that. And so the two things I really enjoyed in your videos was, and one of the reasons I reached out to you was one was always be prepared to die. We talked about
Hmm.
that, right? And then the other one was be safe but not too safe.
Yeah,
I've
that's the
heard you say
slogan of
that
my
a
book.
couple times. I'm like, I could hang out with this guy. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is a lot of people, and I know we're running, I know you probably don't have much time, but that's a
Few
lot of,
minutes.
I'm astonished, and you probably are too, by how many people cling to the security of the here and now and don't venture to live. In the words of Thoreau, when asked why did he leave Walden after 2 years, 2 months, and 2 days, he said, "I left the woods for as good a reason as I went to them. Perhaps I had more lives to live and could spare no more time for this one, and did not want to come at the end of my life to discover that I had not lived at all." I'm trying to sum up "be safe but not too safe" in more eloquent terms, right?
Mm-hmm. I love it. Oh, by the way, I downloaded your book. Is it called Going Alone? I got it on my computer
That's
right now,
it.
PDF. Yeah, I'm digging it. I'm in
Well,
like
thank
three
you very
pages.
much.
That's why I didn't bring it up
Oh,
because
really?
I wanted to like read it before I brought it up. Maybe we can do another podcast about the book. So
Sure. You're just getting to the weird part.
I love it. I love it. And hey, boys and girls, that's a perfect time to say thank you. And I look forward to doing this again.
I do too. I do. And
All right.
thank you for downloading my book. And then thank you for interviewing me. This has been fun.
Yeah. All right. See you soon.
Take care, JC. Bye
Thank you.
bye.